Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the Tanyuin Academy series, and this is English Nerd. So, welcome back. I realized a while ago that my most popular video is the one about doing literary analysis. And it's been a while since I've done some focused literary analysis videos. Actually, some of the very first videos that I made for this channel back in 2018 was a series all about writing essays, and I focused on literary analysis, but the quality wasn't quite as good, just the audio visual. And so I figured it was about time to do a series about how to write a literary analysis essay. I've been teaching English for over 10 years now. I've written literary Analysis. I've taught it for a really long time to pretty successful results. I've had pretty good results with that. And so congratulations for watching this video. It's a great first step. And without further ado, let's dive in. What does it take to write a really good literary analysis essay? So, very first thing you want to look at is the prompt. So I'm assuming that most of you watching this are in high school or in college, and you have gotten a prompt from your teacher, your professor, saying the question that you should answer in this bit of literary analysis. You want to read through that really carefully, which should go without saying, but it's easy to kind of insert your own thoughts into what the question is, if that makes sense. And so pay attention to not only the question that you do need to answer, so you don't get too sidetracked with other things, but instead you very clearly answer that. And pay attention to how long it's supposed to be, in addition to any other specifications, of course. But I feel like those two are the most important. So you have the length. If it's in words rather than pages, then you can approximate 250 to 300 words per page. And so if it's a 1,000-word essay, then that's probably going to be a little over. It's probably going to be close to 4 pages, that kind of thing. So once you've looked very carefully at the prompt and you've thought, okay, here's the question that I need to answer, then you can move on to preparation. It's best not to jump into writing a literary analysis essay right away without formulating your thoughts first, and so that's really what this video is all about. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to be using Crime and Punishment as the book that's being analyzed, and for the prompt, it is Raskolnikov's motivation more selfish or selfless for the crime that he commits? So if you are not aware of Crime and Punishment, this is a hideous book cover, by the way, and if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I can't stand hideous book covers, but Crime and Punishment is one of my favorite classics, and essentially it's about a guy named Raskolnikov who axe murders a couple people and has to deal with the guilt of that and tries not to get caught. There's a lot more to it, of course, but it is a spectacular psychological thriller, before psychological thrillers were really a thing. So again, the question is his motivation more selfish or selfless? There's an argument to be made both ways, so that brings me to the next thing you do. After you look at the prompt, you need to observe the evidence. Of course, you're going to be formulating an answer, but in order to formulate an answer that you can stick with, you have to look at the evidence. So it's kind of like a science experiment. I've used this analogy before, but I think it is really an apt one. In a science experiment, you have your hypothesis, right? But then you have to look honestly at a variety of evidence and let the evidence inform whether you need to adjust your hypothesis, or really what you've learned from that experiment. So we'll approach it the same way. Let's go in with the hypothesis that Raskolnikov's motivation is primarily selfish. Then you would dive into the text. You would go into some important scenes and start drawing evidence both for and against that idea until you really have honed your observations and your opinion to something that you feel you can support. What you don't want to do is ignore evidence to the contrary for obvious reasons. And just you don't want to work on a very little amount of evidence either, because then you'll be doing that English teacher thing where you're kind of making stuff up, but you don't have a lot to back it up. Good literary analysis is just observing and using that wide variety of evidence to make a point about a work of literature. So make sure that you are looking at evidence not only from the beginning or not only from the end, but all throughout, just in a few places throughout the entire thing. Okay, so once you have that, then you can formulate a thesis statement. Your thesis statement is the single most important sentence in your entire paper. I'm going to talk about that more in my next video in depth, but for now, let's just say that is your answer to the question. So Raskolnikov's motivations are primarily selfish. Hopefully your thesis statement is a little bit more developed than that, but for our purposes, we'll just go with that. Here's our answer that we've discovered. What I would recommend next is doing at least a basic outline. I am not a big formal outline person. It's not my favorite way to go about things. However, even a basic outline that is just, here's my answer, and then here are the sub points that I'm going to use to answer that, and then here's some of the evidence, and then you plug that in, kind of like you're pouring out all the puzzle pieces, and then you're organizing them into different sections. So here's all my evidence. Okay, so there seems to be a point that I could make to prove that here. So philosophically, he's more selfish than he thinks. In reality, he's more selfish because he acts in this way, this way, this way. So just putting those into categories, and then you know exactly where your paper is going to go. You have a roadmap in front of you. So again, you can do a formal outline, more power to you. If it's a requirement, of course, then do it. But even if it's not, it's going to be helpful for you to get a bird's eye view of exactly what you're going to say and how you can best express that. If you know ahead of time basically what your thesis statement is, and then what the paragraphs are going to be. So going back to the length of the paper, if you know that it's going to be a 5-paragraph essay, great, go with that. Have your introduction, 3 main points, and then your conclusion. But if you just have a word count or a page count, assume that for every paragraph, that'll be about 3/4 of a page on average. So you can figure out, okay, if this is going to be a 10-page paper, then maybe I should have 14 body paragraphs planned out. You know, that kind of thing, just so that you're not caught by surprise. Okay, so that is all the preparation that you can do to get ready for a literary analysis essay. There is my original video on literary analysis that you can take a look at as well if you want to learn more how to do those observations. I'm going to come back next week with information about how to write a dynamite introduction paragraph. And throughout the rest of this month, I'll be walking you through the process of writing the entire thing. So best of luck. If you have any questions, put those down below. I do not help people cheat. So if you want me to answer, like to do the work for you, then that is not what I'm about. But if you feel kind of stuck and you just need an answer that will guide you in the right direction, then you come to the right person. Okay. Have a good life. Be of good cheer. Like this video if you like it. Follow me for more English nerdy goodness. And yeah, I'll see you next week.